that's a wrap for day one. So today we didn't talk about food at all, but what we did is set a foundation. And the foundation of a positive and blissful food relationship is self-love. And self-love is all about accepting you and appreciating who you were, who you are, and who you're going to become. We also talked about our body image and how we need to make that switch from looking at ourselves so negatively, what we have too much of, too little of, and appreciate what we have, who we are. Our bodies do so much for us, and it's time that we start treating them like the masterpieces that they are. We dug into the root of self-love, which is your fear and your insecurities, and really face the honest truth that the only way out of them is through it. To face them head on. And no, it's not always easy and it's scary, but on the other side of them is magic. And finally, we talked about support and why this is so major. When you commit to yourself, when you decide to take your journey in a direction for the better, anything from the images you see on social media to the people that you surround yourself with, it is so important that all of these accept and love you for who you are and support you in where you want to go. Thank you to everyone that came to live with me in the Fudge vein today, and I can't wait to bring you on tomorrow. Come live with me in my favorite part of the Fudge vein, which is cooking. And we're gonna be talking about why that is so important for us as humans, for our well-being, but also the world around us. So make sure that you're following Fudge Vein on Instagram and Facebook to catch all the action. And I will see you all tomorrow. Day 2 is complete. Thank you everyone who joined me today, living in the Fudge vein. And if you missed any of the posts, you can still catch them on Fudge Vein's Instagram and Facebook page. So today we talked about cooking, which is my favorite part of the Fudge vein because it's so powerful. From the benefits that it gives us personally to the way that it connects us to the world around us, cooking is really critical for building a positive and blissful relationship with your food. And cooking is a great way to learn how to manifest all of those things that we often look outside of ourselves for. It teaches us how to create that ourselves. And so we no longer need to find it outside of ourselves because we are capable of doing it ourselves. But it requires that we be bigger than our biggest excuses that we have around cooking. And as we saw, usually those excuses aren't really the issue. But that's why having that foundation of self-love that we talked about yesterday is so important, because when you have that foundation, these excuses become smaller and you become bigger. And so it's a lot easier to overcome them. Cooking connects us to the world around us. It reminds us of the labor and the life that is sacrificed to be on our plate and nourish us. It's also a really powerful way to become a producer instead of a mindless consumer at the mercy of corporate greed. And cooking is a defiant vote against the status quo for something better. Thanks for everyone that joined me on day 2 of Living in the Fudge Vein. Make sure to share this with all of your friends and come back tomorrow to join me for day 3. We're going to be talking about nutrition, and I'm not talking about calories. I'm not going to be talking about your macros, all that sort of thing. But what we are going to talk about is the holistic, the bigger picture of how the food you eat affects your body. So make sure to come back tomorrow. Make sure you're following Fudge Vein on Facebook and Instagram to catch all of the action. And I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. Have a fantastic evening. So that's it for day 3. We are officially halfway through 6 days living in the Fudge Vein with me. So if you're just joining us, we are in the middle of a 6-day deep dive looking at all the major factors of your relationship with food and what it really means to have a relationship with your food that is as blissful as finding that perfect vein of fudge in your ice cream. Day 3, we talked about how the food you eat affects your body. And we started today off by really looking at where we're at right now, and it's what I like to call nutritionally confused. If you follow the money, you'll see that a lot of the research that is done right now on nutrition is usually funded by food industries so they can use it as a marketing ploy for us to buy more of their food. And humans have been on this earth for thousands of years, eating food, not having to count calories, not having to count macros, and being just fine. So, what have we forgotten? Well, to eat real food. You know, that stuff out in nature, not the stuff made in a lab. And of that real food, to eat mostly plants and a lot of different kinds of plants. And we also need to be mindful of how we are eating. It really can be that simple. And the only nutrient I talked about today was processed sugar, and only because of how detrimental it has become to our health as a nation. And a lot of people compare it to cigarettes, and I agree, but I actually think it's worse because not everyone needed to smoke cigarettes, but everyone needs to eat. And when sugar is hidden in most of the food that America's eating, how do you avoid it? Well, you eat real food. Do you see the pattern yet? Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to see you all tomorrow, day 4. We're going to be talking about the energy of your food. So the energy in which it's grown, the energy in which it's prepared, and why that matters. So make sure that you are sharing this, tag a friend, and following Fudge Vein on Facebook and Instagram to catch all of the fudgy goodness. I will see you all tomorrow. Day 4 is done. Today we talked about a less mainstream approach to your food, which is the energy in which it's grown, in which it's raised, and the way in which your food is prepared. So we started today looking at the differences between what a conventionally grown food is and organic. And we started to look at GMOs, and let me emphasize that we just started. I barely scratched the surface of that topic, and it's not just a buzzword, so definitely stay tuned for a lot more of that down the road with Fudge Vein. We then started to talk about meat. This is a big one. We are very disconnected from our food, but we're disconnected from our meat the most. We are lost on the fact that meat is eating a dead animal, that an animal died for us to have that. But we're even more so lost on the way it lived, which to me is a lot more important. We've all seen those horrible factory farm videos, and if you haven't, please go see them and watch them because it's really important that you see it. It's that horrifying. But what I'm not really crazy about with those videos is that it creates a lot of fear and helplessness of, well, this is just the way it is, I can't do anything about it, and that's not true. There are still farmers that are treating their animals with love and respect and giving them the best life that they can have in a really natural setting in open pastures with real grass and real feed. And those videos take away from those farmers. And that kind of meat is infinitely better. And then we ended our day today looking at the energy in which your food is prepared. And we started talking about this on day 2 when we were talking about cooking and how when you cook, you're able to emit the love and attention into the food, which you then consume. And today, though, we looked at what I consider the polar opposite of that, which is fast food. So we looked at what that type of energy preparation is. Thank you, everyone who came to live with me in the Fudge Vein today. Tomorrow is day 5. We will be looking at the food economy and how your choices in food can affect the marketplace. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to share this, take a friend, spread the message, and I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. Have a fantastic Friday night. That's it for day 5. So today we talked about the nerdy, little bit more serious side of food, which is the economy. Today we started off by just going over some basic economic principles as a reminder of why in a demand-driven economy, how much power we as individuals have in the marketplace when it comes to choosing our food. Also went over the topic of eating locally and why supporting your local economy is really, really important on a bigger scale. There's a lot of benefits to eating local food, and I really only talked about the economic ones today, but those impacts are big. And if you've ever wondered why your fruits and vegetables are more expensive than the processed and pre-made food at the grocery store, well, government agricultural subsidies are a big reason why. And I explain what those are in that post and how they affect the price of our food. Obesity is a big thing in our country, no pun intended. It's an epidemic. It's a problem. And it has a great impact on our economy. And it's only going to get worse as obesity as an epidemic grows. So, and I want to clarify that this isn't a blame game. You know, there's that great saying that if you're pointing the finger, there's three pointing back at you. It's not about that. It's not about blaming people. It's about being part of the solution. So let's keep spreading awareness. Let's keep educating people. And then we ended today looking at really what expensive means to people. What does expensive mean to you? What do you value? And again, this comes back to that foundation we talked about on day one, self-love. And I posed the question, what does expensive really mean to you? Because for me, I'm expensive. You are expensive. We all as individuals are expensive, not the price tag on our food. Thank you so much for everyone who came to live in the Fudge vein with me today. I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. It is our final day living in the Fudge vein. It is day 6. We're going to be talking about the environment. Big impact that our food has on the environment around us. So come back, make sure you're checking Facebook and Instagram for all of the posts, and I will see you all tomorrow. That is it for day 6. Today we talked about how your food impacts the environment. And we started today out looking at how far does our food actually travel. So on average, our food here in America to get to our plate travels anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 miles. That's significant, especially when a lot of us live in areas where local food can be found. And so that obviously has an impact to transportation and therefore the environment in CO2 emissions. And animal agriculture is the biggest impact on our environment when it comes to our food, but no one's talking about it. Especially here in California, it's interesting. You see all the billboards and the commercials about conserving water and taking shorter showers, but what they're not telling you is that that burger you just ordered actually took over 600 gallons of water to procure. That's 2 months of showering. That's huge. No one's talking about it, and that doesn't even go over the land use and the significant greenhouse emissions that animal agriculture is giving off into the climate. And unfortunately, seafood is not much better. It is completely changed our oceans. Most of our ocean fisheries are exploited or completely depleted, and when 1 in 5 people on Earth look to fish for their main source of protein, that's an issue. I highly, highly, highly recommend that everyone go check out Cowspiracy on Netflix. It is one of the best fact-ridden documentaries I've ever seen, and it illustrates how much of an impact our food has on the environment and exposes why no one's talking about it. So we ended today looking at the topic of food waste, and that too is contributing to climate change. And it's a topic that we've heard about recently. France just passed a couple of great laws, and Starbucks committing to do what they can to eliminate food waste, which is awesome. But there's also things we can do at home, and in that post I give a couple tips on what you can do as an individual to help with that. So that is it for this round of Living in the Fudge Vein. I really want to emphasize that a food relationship is complex. There's a lot of different factors that go into it, as we've seen over the last couple days, really what all plays into that. But really what it comes down to is a choice. The choice to take on your food relationship is what starts it all. But what makes it sustainable, what makes it long-term, is a commitment to yourself. And that commitment is to become aware and continue to be aware of yourself and connected to your food. The world around us is always changing. Food will always be changing, but it always remains that commitment to stay connected. Thank you to everyone who came to live with me in the Fudge vein over the past 6 days. I had such a blast connecting with you all and sharing what I know. And make sure to stay tuned because there is a lot more fudgy goodness where this came from. And remember, open your mind and your mouth.